There are a handful of directors working today whose movies I will always take the time to see. If Wes Anderson puts out a film, you can bet I'm going to see it. If Denis Villeneuve directs something, I'll be in the theater on day one. Christopher Nolan is one of those directors. From his 2002 thriller Insomnia to 2014's Interstellar, his movies aren't just well crafted, they're top-notch from a technical standpoint, and every single one of them demands repeated viewings. It's impossible to walk away from a movie like Inception and say to yourself, golly gee, I guess I saw everything there was to see there. No, dude. You missed something. I saw The Prestige at the Century Rio 24 in Albuquerque in 2006, and I'm pretty sure I absorbed maybe like 40% of the film. Okay, maybe 35%. Thank you so much for checking out the review. Before we get started, click on that red subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you know whenever I post a new video. I also stream over on twitch.tv/HometownZero if you want to check that out too. I'm a gentleman, so I will not ruin the major twists of this movie for you, but there will be some light story spoilers, so you've been warned. The Prestige is expertly crafted cinema in every way. It's also a movie that demands that you turn off your phone, look at the screen, listen to every word, and do your best to keep up. You know those guys that spin plates? They take a plate, they spin it, they set it down on a wooden dowel, and then they spin another plate, put that one down. Spin another plate, put that one down. Now imagine the plates can time travel or teleport across the room, and you're trying your absolute best to keep track of what is on every plate. The Prestige is kind of like that. That's not a knock on the movie, it's actually a compliment. Much like Nolan's other works, you are required to pay attention, because if you don't, if you look away for 1 second, you're going to miss it. You're not just going to miss the fantastic third act, you're going to miss some great performances, flawless technical execution, and a series of twists that hit you like a ton of bricks. While the story can be challenging to follow with its multitude of flashbacks and flash forwards, the overall narrative is actually quite simple. Hugh Jackman's Robert Angier and Christian Bale's Alfred Bourdain are a pair of up-and-coming magicians. Their friendship is completely destroyed when one of Angier's tricks goes awry and his wife drowns in front of a full auditorium. From there, the two men begin a bitter rivalry that will result in a lifetime of deception, betrayal, hatred, and death. Stuck in the middle is Michael Caine's John Cutter, the engineer who designs the actual machinery that makes these tricks possible. In addition to being a mental workout, The Prestige is without a doubt one of the darkest films you will ever see. You might assume that it's about the tricks or the magic, but it's not. It's a movie about the one thing that truly drives men to madness: obsession. As I watched The Prestige last week, that was the one word that kept popping into my head: obsession. Christian Bale does a great job as Bourdain. This isn't one of his meatier roles, but he does admirable work portraying a regular working class guy who also just happens to be a magician. I'm not sure who else feels this way, but I had the same feeling after this viewing that I did the first time I watched The Prestige. That feeling's this: Hugh Jackman is without a doubt the star of this film. Not only does he capture the devastation of losing his wife and his reputation, but he flawlessly encapsulates Robert Angier's broken soul. A soul who is ready and willing to do whatever it takes to destroy Bourdain and create the ultimate trick. My favorite scene in the entire film comes during the successful unveiling of Angier's trick, the new transported man. The trick concludes with Angier's double taking in the glorious applause of the audience up on the stage. This requires Angier to be underneath the stage, and after they pull off the trick for the first time, Angier stands there, arms raised, listening to the roar of the crowd. But he's standing under the stage as the audience heaps adoration and praise on his double. It becomes clear to him almost immediately this isn't how it's supposed to be. He's supposed to be the one up on that stage. He's the one that they're destined to cheer for. That small, simple scene perfectly sums up this character and the devastating lengths he'll go to in order to receive his glory. Prior to 2006, Jackman was only really known for a few roles: Wolverine in the X-Men films, the air quotes hacker in Swordfish. That movie is awful, don't watch it. But if I do a review of it, just watch my review and not the movie. Oh, and he played Van Helsing. After The Prestige, it became clear that we would now be taking Hugh Jackman seriously as a dramatic actor. He would continue to prove himself with his performances in Les Miserables, Prisoners, and Logan. The rest of the cast varies from good enough to very good. Don't get me wrong, everyone else here is fine, but the entire film rests upon the shoulders of Bale and Jackman. After working with Michael Caine in Batman Begins, Nolan brought him on board for this movie. In the same vein as Bruce Wayne's butler, his John Cutter takes on the role of the moral anchor. Cutter fails spectacularly in actually being that anchor, even if Kane's performance is just as good as you would expect from an actor of this caliber. Rebecca Hall plays Bourdain's wife Sarah, a woman who cares deeply for her husband even if she's constantly put off by his unwavering dedication to his craft. Hall has always been a bit of an underrated actress, and she really does nail this part. Scarlett Johansson plays Angier's assistant Olivia. Sadly, she's probably the weakest part of the movie. There's not really a nice way to say this, so I'll just say it. Olivia is the perfect distraction when it comes to assisting with Angier's tricks. She's gorgeous, but Johansson had not really hit her stride yet as an actress at this point in her career. If she had done this movie in the last 10 years or so, like while she was doing Avengers, I think she would have fared better, but at that time, she was simply miscast. David Bowie and Andy Serkis play Nikolai Tesla and his assistant Allie. Bowie's delivery is a bit wooden here, but Serkis does his absolute best with what amounts to a bit part. Interestingly enough, The Prestige touches a bit on Tesla's own rivalry with Thomas Edison. Tesla himself understands obsession, and the film smartly uses that fact to provide some greater detail and context to Bourdain and Angier's rivalry. The Prestige, to the great credit of the filmmakers, looks and sounds awesome. The set design, sound design, costume work, cinematography, and music are all on point. The City of London is a character unto itself, and the movie's laser-like focus on these two magicians in this city at this point in time somehow allows the movie to feel much bigger than it actually is. The Prestige was always going to be unfairly seen as that movie about magicians that Christopher Nolan directed between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. While it's also not the first film to pop into my head when I think of the director, it certainly has stood the test of time. Awesome performances from the lead actors, outstanding technical work, and an engaging story that demands your full attention. To call The Prestige a simple thriller would be selling it short. It's a dark, deep, and thoroughly engrossing look at what happens when dedication turns to obsession. It's also one of Christopher Nolan's best movies. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the review, subscribe to the channel. You can also like and share the video since that tells YouTube that my channel is worth promoting. Sound off down in the comments, let me know what you think of The Prestige, and I'll see you next Wednesday at 9 a.m.